Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, as always, thanks for watching Common Sense Fishing. So, we got another good one for you guys tonight. We're going to talk about some recent fishing trips, some updates to what's going on, next week, members giveaway, and just a couple of good spawn fishing tips and fishing tips in general that can work other times of the year, not just during spawn, but when fish are shallower, when they're more finicky, or when they're active, how to kind of separate them and catch them. Because what can happen, and I bet you a lot of you guys are attesting to this, spawn's supposed to be the best time of year. But why is everyone catching a bunch of 1 pounders? Well, the reason is because most of those are all the males. So when you find a fish on a bed and it's sitting there guarding it, that's the male. Males rarely ever the biggest a male gets is like 4 pounds, 3 pounds. It's not uncommon for them to be 1 to 2 pounds. So think about it this way: the chance of seeing a 4 pound male is kind of like the chance of seeing a 20 pound female. It's just very rare. So every time you roll up on a bed and you notice that there's a fish there, a lot of the time that's going to be a male if it's by itself. So where are the females? Well, this is happening. They're right, just a couple drops. They're right there next to them. But usually, I think fish do this for safety purposes from birds and predators, as well as perhaps maybe anglers. But I believe personally that during pre-spawn like this, that they'll go up and they'll spawn in 2, 3 feet of water, 1 foot of water. However, the female will sit in that zone where you can't see anymore. So let's just say the bottom's going like this. It's a nice hard flat bottom, and you can see down 3 feet really clear. 4 or 5 feet you can see all right. Then as soon as you hit around 6 feet, it's just you can't see anything but maybe some dark shadows here and there. And then after that, you can't see nothing. That's where those fish are at. Those mamas are waiting where they know you can't see them. And they're waiting just beyond those beds. If you're cruising and you can't find the females on the beds, just right behind them, and you have to fish. They can be pretty much lockjaw where they just sit there and no matter what goes by them, they don't have to hit it. Hey, how's it going, Gerbs? They're just sitting there waiting to do their thing. And that's when they say, like a swim bait or whatever have you can trigger them. But I like to throw things like a jig or an LV 500, I think can trigger them as well. So, pick your poison. I haven't been that big of a big swim bait guy. Smaller swim baits, oh yeah, I've thrown a ton of them. But I need to step up my game and do that more. So I've got a couple S wavers and other baits. I want to do some swim bait only trips, record it, and I'll put it out there whether I get skunked or not. And I'm sure you will. I mean, I will. I'm sure my first few times, at least I'm probably not going to get a good one or even anything on a big swim bait. It's going to take me a while to dial it in. But I am a power fisherman at heart. So maybe I will have a fish, quicker than I think, because I know the strategy about power fishing are pretty much run parallel to structure, shore, ambush points, drop offs, ledge, trees, laydowns, anything that provides cover or structure for a bass to ambush something. When it's sitting there in its predatory mode and it's hunkered down near something, they're a lot of the time they're not just cruising around like let me waste all my energy and try to find something to eat. They'll pick a really good spot where a lot of bait or whatever they're after tends to move like a game trail, and they'll sit there and they'll wait and then they'll come out and they'll ambush. So, I like using jigs, LV 500s, but I mean, I think when I pick up that big swim bait, it probably will come naturally to me because I throw spinner baits and crankbaits a lot. So I power fish. I just haven't really gotten to that side of the game heavy. I've caught a few fish on them. They've always been small. So maybe this will be the year that I do it this year or next year, go hardcore on the swim baits and start sticking them out of the boat. But in the meantime, been having plenty of hard enough time with these damn males. And then especially doing it in a tournament, man, it's real nerve wracking where you really want to catch them. And I experienced that at the Ed Lacey tournament, where I actually found, had I caught two of these fish that I was on a group of like a bunch, let's just say, I would have easily had first place. I'm sure other people seen good fish too, but I was on a school of 3 to 5 pound bass. They just wouldn't bite. They were up shallow. Most of the males were up shallow. They were skittish. They wouldn't bite. And the females, I could actually see in like 3 to 4 feet cruising super monsters. And then whenever you got near, they'd cruise out to like 8 to 10 where you couldn't see them and they just sit there and wait. Then you come back and sure enough, they'd be there again. Then they'd move. It was the most frustrating game of cat and mouse. And then I tried my own advice, let's say, where I backed off and I fished for them. But I think that I backed off and I fished for them too expectantly, too quickly. You know what I mean? Like too excited, too anticipating a bite, wiggling and jiggling, instead of taking my time and doing what I would normally advise my kids to do. When I see them doing that, I'll tell them dead stick it for a second and then pop it and then dead stick and then wiggle, barely shake, like vibrate, and then stop, give it a minute and then do something, right? And try some different things. And if you can see the fish and you find out what irritates them or gets them to come look at it, then you just give little pauses and then you keep doing that. Sometimes if you do it too much, the fish will turn around and be like, nah. But then if you do it just right, that's what it takes to trick that fish. But if you can see the big mamas, man, they can probably see you. And let's just say that's been my motto. And if you can catch them sight fishing, great. But damn it, have they not really proven to be very hard to catch? I seen them, but like I said, I think I know what my mistakes were for sure. I was in a tournament. I was with my kids. And I was nosed into a cove. I was probably a little bit too far into them, but I could see them. I had them in there. I was just probably scaring the shit out of them. And then when they'd run out from their little spot, they'd run right under the boat too. So then they would have to, they just knew we were there. I should have put way more distance and gave myself much more room instead of what I was doing. Because I knew there were so many fish there. I should have just blind fished. And with all that, you would think I would have caught something. But no, there was like, and when I say so many, I'm saying like 5 or 6 nice ones. But they wouldn't touch it because there were some small ones too. So there was like 5 or 6 fish in there. That were up shallow, accompanied by about 3 or 4 monsters that were out deeper. At least it was crazy. Yeah, I know there was at least 2 monsters. There was 2 big ones, probably, I don't know, 3 to 4 or more. There were the 3 to 5 pound range. I don't recall the count, and I just know there was a mixed bag and there was a lot of fish. And I knew there were the right ones. There were the tournament winning fish. But, I think like I said, if I would have been able in hindsight to give myself advice, it would be to have turned around when I spotted them and spooked them, turned around and just given them a bit more time, relax for a second, get prepared, get out a couple different lures, and don't just throw the same thing. Maybe try something 10, 20 casts, maybe try something else, weightless Cinco. I was using a Nico. My son was using a Ned, or then a drop shot. My daughter was using a Ned, and they just weren't having none of it, as far as the ones that we were focused on. If I could give myself advice, I would say once you found those fish, you're going to spook them. Got too much in there, so maybe I should have fished ahead of myself while looking. I should have fished really slow, look a little bit, fish a little bit, and then move up. Take my time because I knew I was in a prime area. I should have anticipated that I would bumble across some monsters instead of waiting to and then spooking them. So my advice would have been to slow down and try to sight fish for them, I guess. And then, because that's what you should do if you get a chance and they're on it, you can see them bite. And then, you'll know if you're getting the male or the female to bite. You'll know if the monster's picking it up. And a lot of times, you're fishing with white. That's another tip. Hey, Mike, you'll watch that bait move off the bed or shift. So it's been a tough one and then a good one at other times too. So, but right there, I would have told myself throw a couple of different lures instead of just that white Nico so much. Try a Cinco, try a couple different things at it. Um, Give it some time in between casts and or just like attempts. So meaning like pull out 30 yards or 20 yards away, protect the spot lock well away from it, relax, eat a sandwich, drink a water, get yourself mentally in the game, go back at those fish extremely slow. Happy Friday. Nice to see everybody on. Um, and go back at those fish from a distance and just trust that they're there, blind fish, and then fish by feel. Anything that don't feel right, set the hook on. And I probably could have caught at least a couple of those. Now, had I caught them, I wouldn't have been able to weigh in, which ties us back into my other topic is my boat. The one-way check valve went out on it. So my live well doesn't hold water. So what I'm going to do, and I told you guys this last week, but I'm not going to harp on it. But what I'm going to do is temporarily for now until I can get it fixed, I'm going to try to put a plug with some waterproof tape in the outlet side, and then I can still pump water in, and then once it's in I can recirculate it, then I can engage the valve and pump water out and then pump more water back in. So I could do all that without it naturally going out. And I'm hoping that'll work. So I'm going to try that out. I'm going to go fishing here soon, and we'll try to box some fish and see how it goes. And if it works, I can tournament fish until I get this stuff scheduled. But not in the bad heat. I mean, you got to make sure you keep a lot of fresh water going through that. So half drain your tank and then half fill it. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll have, if we do that, you'll see me back on the tournament trail, at least for the time being until it gets into July or August. Then I'll probably dip out and do night fishing. Then we're going to get into our night fishing episodes. I got my double digit last year night fishing. Got my double digit the year before during the day. So who knows? Maybe we get one during the day today. Or get one at night. That'd be awesome to get another one every year at least, if not more. That'd be great. But I do got to focus on throwing bigger baits too, though. More crank baits and spinner baits and swim baits, stuff like that. Yeah, that's the way to do it. How's it going, the Bass Assassin 96? If you want, so we'll be doing those videos this summer. And look, I'll tell you guys right now that I don't think of myself as like this great fisherman, or that I know a lot, or that I'm, some kind of, high-end fisherman. I'm decent at what I do. I love fishing. I've done it now for like 25 years, something like that, maybe 26 years. And, I've got a lot. So when my strengths really are, though, but dude, I'll tell you what. Oh, yeah, the rat'll work good. So one of my strengths has always been night fishing. I have exceptionally good night vision. I can see really good at night. I can spot the shore. I can make my casts like, I don't know. I just have it dialed in. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I've been night fishing since I was about 15, 16. And most of our double digits between me and my buddies have all come at night. We've got a few during the day, but 80% to 20% are at night. And the summertime is the best time. So instead of being out there where you can get skin cancer, where you can get fried, you can have heat stroke. Yeah, that's what I have. Gorilla tape, and I also have some Flex Seal. And then what I'm hoping is there's two holes in the live well, right? There's one that's just like a pluggable outlet, and then the other one has a screen on it. I think that could be like where the water naturally fills in from the lake, because then when you put the boat in the water, the boat will naturally fill up about 2 inches. But and then when I hit, when I hit live well, manual or auto, when I hit auto, it'll fill it up to a certain level or for a certain time and then go off. And then when I go manual, it just keeps pumping and pumping and pumping water in. But then what I notice happen is if it fills all the way up, instead of overflowing into the boat, it goes somewhere, like it goes out the back. I guess how somehow it's set up where the water goes out, and I don't see it coming out where the bilge would be. So I can leave my pump on forever and it doesn't like drown the boat. But I'm wondering if I plug that outlet, leaving the pump on might give me an issue. Hey, Max Limit Outdoors, how's it going? So hopefully, I'll be able to like be mindful of it and make sure that I recircuit, that I pump in and out water, keep the levels right. Look in my, flip the back and make sure I'm not taking on a bunch of water from my live well overflowing. Um, and I should be good. So I'm going to experiment with it. We're going to test it out, and then we're gonna go get on them. I heard in some lakes, especially pressure ones, the big ones go nocturnal, kind of like big bucks or pigs. Yeah, that's a lot of it, and or it's not that they're nocturnal. I think that may actually I've had that theory for a long time, that over the course of, let's say, the last 50 years of mass tournament pressure, fishing pressure, boat activity, party boats, wake boats, ski boats, bass boats. These big bass are just deep as shit. They're where the trout, the chinook, the salmon. There's a lot of, believe you me, there's a lot of fish down in 90 feet deep almost all year long, even in the middle of summer. And so, and, maybe 60. I don't know if they're that deep, but I personally caught a bass out of 110 in the winter. And in the summer, we pulled them out like 70 or 80. So I don't ever catch giants down there, but they probably are down there, and they just don't fall for our little dinky baits. And it takes for a swim bait to get down that deep. But anyways, maybe they're just not that deep when they're that big. But I've pulled a lot of little dinks out of that deep. So there's so much bait fish down there, though, that stays down there 50, 60, 70 feet deep. So much of the little shad, any kind of like the trout or salmon spawn, any kind of, bait fish that they'll just literally hang out in that depth range, because the lake, it'll cook in the summertime and it gets really cold at night, right? So there'll almost always be this layer of bait fish that moves around, stays pretty deep at our motherlode lakes. A lot of them do. Not all the time. You'll see shad right up early in the morning, but there's a bunch of them, right? So what do you think happens to all the baby bluegill? What about all the baby bass that were born, the late spawn that are down there, right? That's perfect munching size, maybe this big, right? And the baby trout, if your trout are not like sterile and they can repopulate and they don't have to be dumped in every year, or you have a salmon population, right? What about their babies? What about catfish babies, carp babies? And so fish spawn at all different times of year. There's going to be schools of fish all over the lake doing all kinds of different things. Now, bass tend to do their things that we know, and we go fish for them, right? But why is it that these monsters are so hard to catch unless you're using giant swim baits? Because those fish are out where the trout are at. They're out suspended over 300 feet of water sometimes. They're hanging out under docks over 150 feet of water. They're in all the no fishing zones, basically, because there's never pressure and boats there. They're under all the marinas. They just do the craziest shit, and they're very hard to catch, right? But nighttime, different story. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, I've seen it on live scope. I fished with a guy with live scope at nighttime, and I've also fished with my traditional and my down scan and a nice decent fish finder. And it's so awesome that I've been on a lake, right? I've fished plenty of times where I fished all day and all night, where I was either camping or I was just on a savage mission. And I went out with hella food, hella stuff, and I planned literally on fishing all day long and then all into the night, and then at like 5 o'clock the next day going home like zombie and making it home barely, or pulling out and crashing out and sleeping for like 3 to 4 hours, then driving home. I mean, I don't usually go home zombie. I don't want to put anybody at risk, but I've done that plenty of times. Just pulled out and fell asleep and then took off, paid like an overnight fee, and shit, I've done it. I love it. The sun always wakes you up 7 o'clock or so, like earlier, but like if you manage to sleep in, your car in the summertime is brutally hot pretty quick. So you're like, oh, what the hell? You wake up pretty fast. But yeah, night fishing, that's going to be the ticket here in about a month and a half, 2 months, and it's going to be rocking for like 3 months straight. That's where you're look at the PB. Your chance at a PB technically is spawn, as far as if you caught one fish, the same fish, and you caught them all year long, and it's a female, right? Because that's going to be the big ones. Males don't get over four. So if you've got a monster, massive bass, it's going to be at its peak size right during pre-spawn and into spawn before it lays its egg. So it's going to have ate the most, stocked up the most, have all that muscle, all that fat food, the eggs, everything. It's just stacked, right? And then you catch that same fish in the winter, it might be fat, but it doesn't have the eggs, right? It could be full of shad, gorging, eating a bunch of stuff, but then it doesn't have the egg weight. You catch it in the summer and it's probably not got any of that weight, barely. It's much more skinnier usually, right? Still may be fat if it just ate something big, right? But that's usually traditionally when the bass will weigh least, um, towards the end of summer. And not all of them and not always, right? So the saying is you're going to catch you could catch your PB during spring, but here's the truth. If you've been fishing this last few years or even your whole life, tell me that like 90% of the spawn is nothing but small ass males all over the shoreline that are finicky or easy to catch. Some days you can have 100 fish day. Some days you can go out there and struggle to put a limit together, and the males even are just super finicky, right? And you can't find a female in sight. You might be one here, one there. So a bunch of boats go out. One dude catches some monsters, right, or a monster. But tell me, has the last month been spectacular fishing? Yes, there's been great days, but this has been a very tough month, um, fishing wise, right? It's been a hard spawn, and the females, when they come up, that's when you got your chance. It's a small window. You really have to be on it. So the rest of the year, though, you fish the summertime at nighttime, and this is where I was talking about earlier about the live scope and these other fish finders. I've been fishing this summer, and I'll see fish shallow, fish medium, fish deep, fish suspended. I might have a tough time that day, and I might throw out into 50 or 60 feet of water and start catching some 2-3 pound spotted bass, a couple of nice large 2-3 pounds, and have a fun day, catch 10, 15 fish, actually fishing very deep in the sun. I might turn around one day and be fishing in 1 to 10 feet of water and murdering them. And then another might be in 20, 25, right? They'll swing, they'll be all over one day. You might be just killing them for like a week straight on top water, right? Because they'll pull out. Another one they'll do in the summertime, you'll get guys who, man, I'm throwing my jigs, my bottom bouncers up shallow, I can't get bit. I'm throwing my jigs, my bottom bouncers at medium, I can't get bit. I'm throwing my jigs and my bottom bouncers down deep and I can't get bit. Well, duh. That's because the fish are suspended. And if you're not running a jerk bait, a top water, a crank bait, or a spinner bait or something, and it all depends on weather, right? Is it calm? Is it glass out there? You might want to throw some top water. Is it really commotion on the water? You might want to throw a spinner bait or something, right? Is it kind of a little ripply? Throw a crankbait. Not too much motion in the ocean, but yet enough to make sight fishing tough or to make top water like, I don't know if I want to do it. Throw that crankbait. Gets real gale force wind, big old giant waves, throw that spinner bait, big old 1 ounce your Colorado blade. And if you're in dirtier water, use gold blades. If you're in clean water, use silver. If you are trying to replicate a big ass fish, go with a Colorado blade. If you want to replicate a small school of small fish, go with the willow blades. So I'm trying to give as much good information as I can, right? Because I mean, literally, people will make like these 10, 15-minute videos on something as simple of a topic as spinner bait blade choice and weight. And I can make a bunch about that. I know one thing I am kind of semi-pro at is a spinner bait. I love a spinnerbait. I fished it for a hell of a long time, and I fished it many different ways. I used to get made fun of because that's what I fished with so much. Literally, they used to call me spinnerbait Sam, and it forced me to do other things. And this is my teenage years, mind you, when we start fishing around 12, 13 years old, and we're 15, 16 now, and I'm throwing a spinnerbait while everybody's cranking and stuff and top water, and I'm just spinnerbaiting away, and they get hella jealous when I'm catching all these big fish. So they used to make fun of me until my buddy, he got his first double digit on a spinnerbait right next to me. So it was fun. But anyways, hey Fong, how's it going? Sam Pro? We got a fish. What the fish are biting? Yeah, that's the truth. You can't force them. Hey, folks, who's dunking? Spinner baits are fun, except for the big ones. They hurt the shoulders. What areas do post spawn fish move to? Great question, Bassin 96. So post spawn, what'll happen is okay. So we all know spawn males go up shallow, females come up, lay the eggs. Females will do two things usually, two or three things I've seen them do. They'll pull out, and then they're cruisers and they're lockjaw for about a week or two after spawn. And they'll either cruise out maybe in 15, you'll see them just moving along sometimes. Like, what the hell? Hard to get them to bite. I don't know honestly too much what to do during that time other than weightless, like a weightless Cinco. If you can spot them on your fish finder, if you see them cruising, cast past them. Weightless Cinco has been one of the only ways I've seen those real finicky lockjaw post spawn mamas caught, and they'll cruise. Now, the other way I've seen them when they're more easy to catch is when they pull and they go down. So when they're not cruising, they've just spawned, they pull down to that next drop off. So spawning, let's say, was in 3 to 5. Now they're in 8 to 15, maybe even as deep as about 20, and they're sitting there kind of just chilling, and they may be as close as about 6 or 7, 8 feet deep. It just depends. They'll kind of move off like that and just sit there like recuperating. And then once they're ready, their first meal is going to be an easy one. Hopefully, they don't usually go trying to exert a lot of energy. So you can catch them with anything finesse. Those are the ones when they're actually easier to bite, because if the bait is in their face and it's not a big spinner bait or crankbait moving along, jerk bait, top water, and all that, and it's just had babies basically, it's all tired, and the stupid little drop shot, Bass is like, well, I could use, I could use a snack. So those guys can get caught on weightless Cincos, drop shots, um, shaky head, Nico, Ned, anything basically finesse and slow on the bottom. And so the more rare one I've seen them do is actually pull out over deep. But most of the time, they're going to stay either in that very next drop off right near the spawning beds, and they may slowly move towards an ambush point because now they're worried after that they're worried about feeding, but they keep their eye usually on a bed. So in case a male gets caught, in case something happens, they don't usually move until the whole fry thing has happened, and we'll go through that. So what happens is they've done their business. The female backs off because that was and the question is what part of post spawn. So when the female's done, doing her business, laying, turning sideways, they're usually both up there together. Backs off. She usually sits right there within a few feet. Sorry. She'll usually sit there within a few feet of that bed where she can watch things, and the male will protect it. She's there as backup. She don't just bounce. She'll stay there. That's where, like, the bed's there. The two fish are there now, and they're not mating. They're actually watching their babies. Then they hatch and they fry. After a bit, that female will take off, and the male will be the fry guarder. Will watch that school unless it gets caught, killed, or ate. Then the school's either on its own, or sometimes the female will come up and protect it if she's still close enough. But there'll be a couple different stages. So for that first fry guard and before moment, she will be right. Sorry, this is a wife. What's up, babe? I'm on my live stream. What's up? Okay, hold on. think she's getting filters, guys. So let me see. She sent me a picture. Do. Yeah, that one will work just like that. They make one a little bit better, but you just don't want the ones that are super like anti-allergen. They'll break your AC like right out the gate because they're so restrictive of airflow. Sure, they filter everything out, but it's already like having a dirty filter when you put it in. So unless you have like this perfectly engineered system, those things will mess your system up. So that's why I was like, no, don't put that in. Love you. Man. Okay, I'll have to call these people back here in a minute when we're done. So HVAC business too. I guess someone invited me to do some work for them. So, all right, let's see here. Spinnerbait. What areas do post spawn fish move to? Best is the drop offs. Got to fish those drop offs. Yeah, that next ledge. It's lagging. Oh, sorry guys. Let you talk to her. She's crazy. All right. So, anyways, hopefully it's not lagging anymore. Smash that like button if you guys get a chance. But yeah, you want to fish the next drop off or ledge. However, when they're in that very first stage of spawn, the female usually won't be off the drop off. She'll be right there near the bed. Hey Ray, how's it going? So the female should the fry hatch and it kind of gets a couple days into that process or more. Then she goes to that next drop off. And then after that, usually the next ledge or drop off, she'll start heading towards a main lake point or a cove or somewhere that has bait fish in it that are big. So the next wave of fish to usually spawn after bass are going to be bluegill. And the bluegill will also eat the baby fry. So the males like to, fight them and all that. They'll eat them if they, but the females, bluegill is a crazy ass good color post spawn. Bass hate bluegill. That's one way to piss a mama bass off real good is to have a really good bluegill imitation bait. Now, this is legal if you've done the right way, and it is also one of the most epic ways to get one of the biggest fish of your life is simply catch some bluegill, put it in a bucket, and throw those suckers on the hook weightless and dump them in by the shore and let them run out deep. And I guarantee you, you do that a month after spawn, you're going to be catching some of the biggest fish of your life. Oh yeah, no problem. Try that ledge out. So that's where they should be. Even in pre-spawn, if they're waiting, they'll wait right there to pull up as well. And then when they're done, they'll pull off. And then once they've kind of gone over the restive stage, that's where if they're on the bottom, you can still catch them with something finesse as well. But then once they get hungry, they're going to head towards the main lake point. They're going to go into the cove, look for bluegill moving up to spawn now. They're gonna, or they could just sit there at that ledge waiting, because inevitably the bluegill and other bait will be coming in to spawn and do their thing next. So those big mama bass will be out there. You'll see the shorelines littered with those little rats. Some of them some of them not. Most of them I don't think are. In my opinion, and see, Cook would be the better person to ask on this front because I've been bouncing around all the lakes and areas kind of, and then I've been at a spot for a time here, a time there, and I haven't been there repeatedly enough to watch the whole process to be for sure. But in my opinion, what I've seen is in the gaps they weren't long enough, and I didn't see enough beds. The lake level rose at Lake Don Pedro, and so when I seen the earliest beds, and I've had the earliest pre-spawn fishing in late February, early March, up until April, there was a lot of fluctuation. The beds there was only like one or two beds barely. So let's say they all came up in March. Well, the lake level came up. And so some of those fish will be on what are deep beds. They'll be hard to see. You just have to fish deep and they're down there. That does happen. At these mother lode lakes, you have to be prepared that if a bass goes up there, it's locked. They're doing their thing, and the lake just decides it wants to raise 10 feet. They're not just going to abandon their babies in their bed and just swim up and make another one, and she's going to poop out more eggs. It don't work that way. They'll stay down there. So when these lakes raise like that, another thing that can happen is a deep spawn, and that's a mo far as you can't see them. So you just have to blind fish for them and pray that they're there, and they always are. So you get them. They should be just loaded up, but it's going to be over soon. But I would assume, based on what I've been seeing, that I don't think it's even barely begun yet. Like as far as the females, we've been seeing nothing but males. All I see on everyone's pictures are nothing but males. Cook's been posting some females for sure, but they're still 2-3 pound class, average bass for those lakes. Nothing crazy. Where's all the 6s and 10s and 8s? Pedro's notorious for that. Those monsters at that lake. And so I don't know if that's either been a deep spawn. That's a possibility. But the other thing is I didn't see big schools of fry. Now at the Delta, mind you, at the Delta, I actually seen two big groups of fry in two different places. So I know for a fact that some bass are like a month or two already done spawning there, and there's still bass on beds too. So the Delta actually seems to be ahead of the lakes this year, and I've always pegged the Delta as usually a little bit behind because it has river water coming in and the ocean water, tidal stuff. It's usually a bit cooler or colder than the lakes, but this year proved me wrong. Hey, Mike McLean, nice to see you on tonight. You're going to Salt Spring Valley Reservoir next week. Any advice? My advice would be to fish by the dam, right past the dam, where those trees are at. There's a big flat right there. I would try some jerk bait, crankbait, topwater stuff early morning and see how it goes. Maybe even midday. If you don't get anything reaction, don't force the bite. You got to fish what the fish are biting. And so throw something like a Nico, a Ned, or a drop shot. Probably not a Ned. That place has too much debris on the bottom. So I would probably go with like a weedless Nico, a wacky rig Cinco, a drop shot, something like that. And the two main areas that I would hit, actually the three would be from the end of the dam and in the dam area as well, and at the front of the dam, but all down that. And then in that one big kind of cove where there's those trees and laydowns right there, that big flat out to where those buoys are. And then I would shoot across and go into the main creek arm where all the water comes in and just go back there as deep as or as back as far as you can get safely without running into stuff. There's a couple of rock piles out there that you got to watch out for, but you can get pretty far back. I would go where those real craggly, like lava rocks are, and then stop right about there and work my way out and bounce back and forth between the shore. And probably you're going to have to fish finesse. They're probably still on spawn there. And then even if they're on post spawn, to catch those fry garters and the post spawn females, your best bet's probably going to be finesse. However, early morning, depending on the weather. The other thing is you're going next week. So according to what I've been looking at, we've been 96 degrees today. I worked like a 12-hour day today, did a bunch of air conditioning calls, and it's going to be 60 something degrees by Monday. It's going to rain. So next week's going to be in the 60s and then low 70s. So I expect the cold front to push them back off, make them finessey again. So it depends. After that cold front comes in, this weekend's probably going to suck for fishing, to be honest. Or either tomorrow is going to probably be really good, Saturday, and then Sunday's going to probably blow balls Monday. Or it might be good into that, but they usually say on that kind of a pressure drop, usually isn't, they say a rising barometric, so when it starts to warm up. But I don't keep enough fishing data to tell you if I really I'm sold on that 100%, but I know that right before a system moves in is some of the best fishing. And then when the system moves in at the first day of it can be really good usually. And then after or during the second day and beyond, fishing just blows and it can take a while till it gets better. So by next weekend, we're on a warming curve. So if there's any cloud cover, I fully expect you probably can have some fun throwing something like a chatterbait, topwater, crankbait, whatever have you, um, and maybe catch some nice fish with some moving baits, and just try different stuff. Burn them. Try going real slow with the crankbait or spinnerbait or chatterbait, right above the bottom at a low speed. Don't be burning it too much. Try giving stuff pauses and stuff. But I have a feeling, depending on the weather, you probably can smash them like that. But if not, and they're kind of finicky coming off of that cold front, then just go to some classic finesse techniques like a wacky rig, weedless, a weightless Cinco, a drop shot, a Nico rig weedless, and just go to town, fish slow, because that lake has so many fish. It reminds me exactly of Kelsey. So in a few weeks, or even maybe even sooner, I don't know, the weed patches are going to become extremely important because the fry will go wherever there's cover. So any lay down, any tree, any bush, any log, anything that's on the shore that goes into the water where it's shallow, those fry will congregate there. So there will be the male garters there, but then as soon as everything turns, the males will start feeding on those very same fry, right? So the male will be where all the fry are at. So wherever you see fry, you got a good chance of catching some male. Now, in a place like that where there's not a ton of like shad and trout, it's fish eat fish, right? So the females will start getting in on the action too if they have to. So sometimes the females, what they like to do is when the males have busted up the fry, the bass fry a bit, and they start thinning down the herd and they ate a bunch, and the fry start getting bigger, and now the fry are kind of worth eating to the females, but there's still a bunch of them out there. They'll move to like offshore weed clumps. So you have all this water and then you have a weed clump, and those fry will be all in there, and you'll have the big mamas will be sitting there, and they'll just be eating fry whenever they want, like it's a drive-through restaurant, just sitting there, bloop, get one here, bloop, get one there. And so that's when you can find weed edges and fish weed edges post spawn. But then they go in different stages. So there should be some still up spawning. There should be some post spawn. So if you can find any weed edges, you can fish those. So, anyways, the incoming river arm, the area by the dam with the trees and the laydowns, and then after the incoming river arm where there's that sunken boat, that shoreline, and then the second cove, there's like a little cove, I think, and then a bigger cove. So that little cove that's kind of deeper, that's one that it has nice spawning, but then it comes into a deep bowl. We found that one loaded last time. We just didn't discover it till the end of the day, and we were catching fish up until we left. We had to make ourselves leave. So fun trip, but yeah, those would be the three places I'd probably be checking in right now. And there should still be some bedding, and there should be some probably even post spawn up in some weed patches and stuff. Started fishing about 2:30 today and put 3 in the boat in the first half hour, then lost the next 5 right at the boat. Very light bite. Yeah, so they're a light bite. It's finesse right now. Um, yep. And Bassin Assassin, I seen that at the Delta. So I don't know if you're seeing that in the lakes. So if you're seeing that in the lakes, that would mean that most likely we've had a deep spawn this year, and those big ass mamas are probably already done, long gone. Um, so who knows? The autism acceptance swim jig for sure. Your guys' jigs are going to go on full display here in about a month for the summer bite. Because when the summer kicks off, it's jig season for me at nighttime. I go out when it's night. I toss that jig all the way on the damn shore if I don't care. Right on the rocks, 1 inch of water. And then I work it down real slow. Sometimes there's some hoppity pops here and there. That and I crankbait and spinnerbait. I get right up parallel, like I'm gonna smash my boat on the shore. And let's say this is the shoreline. Most guys fish like this at it. I pull right up to that sucker like that and put my nose as close as I can get. And then I cast like this at nighttime. Because, earlier, I'm sorry, I've been going all over the place. But earlier I was talking about I've seen it on live scope and I've seen it on my fish finder where all these fish are scattered everywhere in the summer. As soon as that sun starts getting low, you start watching the schools pull in. And it's so awesome on live scan to be sitting there and to watch all these monsters come in and then watch some of them come and settle down, others just kind of swimming back and forth, and others come right up to you or right up to shore, and seeing them go right up into the rocks and just watching all these fish just like. So it's like in the summertime and nighttime, like I'd say I'm just a number I'm tossing out my ass, but probably like 75. It seems like 75% of the fish or more of like all shapes and sizes and forms. They just all go right to the shore, and they go within a certain range. They may some are like right on the shore in 1 inch of water. Some are down about 25 feet, but you don't catch bass deep in the summer at night. They all even if they're in 50, 60 feet of water, they pull up and they'll be the ones that sit in 25, 20 feet of water. While the guys that were in 20, 25, 30 feet, they'll pull right up to a foot of water. Maybe. I don't know which ones are doing what, but all I know is that I've watched on the live scope and my fish finder where just at nighttime, you watch it go from ghost town or a fish here and a fish there. And then you can actually pull out and see a bunch of them start moving in and more and more and more. Next thing you know, they're just all over the place on the shore. And you're tossing the jig, getting bit left and right, having 30, 40 fish nights. And they're all 3 and 4 pounders, it seems like, 2 pounders, 3 pounders. And you just have to find the right areas because then sometimes you'll fish and you won't find much. But you just cover water. And if you're not catching nothing, get out of there. Go somewhere else and then come and fish. And if you start catching one fish, then there's probably a lot more fish there. So summertime, nighttime bite, and it's about to be on. Get my Panoptics next week. Heck yeah. No problem, Mike. I hope you stroke them. Good job. Get them out there. Get all those bass. Get a big old monster. And Fong, I can't wait to put the jigs on notice this year. You'll see. I'm going to be using your jigs and particularly in New Maloney's and try to go get some monsters at nighttime. Um, I'll be using bumblebees at like McClure or jig sucking lips at McClure or Pedro and yours at Pedro. So I'll be using yours in Woods Creek. No, sorry, Woods a little bit, but mostly in Big Creek and where that mine is in the back. I'll be using your jigs in Pedro because there's a lot of wood in Pedro. I'll be using open hook jigs primarily at McClure. So if I know I'm fishing like Fleming where it's all rock, I want open hook. I don't want any weed guard. So the weed guard ones will be for when I'm fishing anywhere near wood or any kind of structure or something. The Delta, stuff like that. So both you guys are going to get like, I'm going to try to smash them this year. And then Ansky's tackle box is supposed to get me. I want to buy like a big old massive pack of his stuff to shout him out, help him out too. But, just he's a cool dude. He's always supported me. So I support local too. So I'm going to buy like a ton of Cinco, stick baits, trailers. I'm going to get all kinds of crap, multiple different colors. So I'm going to be sporting my 3 favorite local bait makers, which is the Green Tackle Box, Jig Sucking Lips, and then Ansky's Tackle Box. So I'll have my jigs covered from my 2 homies, and then my soft plastics. And then from then, all I'll need to buy basically is crankbaits, spinner baits, top water, stuff like that, maybe some swim baits. But yeah, this summer is going to be cracking, and that's where I think I can give you guys some really good advice. But right now, I would say keep your eyes shallow-ish, and still look for bedfish, still look for big mamas, but don't forget that there could be bass spawning in 6 to 10, 12, 15 feet of water, depending on how much your lake is rising. So if the bass take a certain amount of time to do their spawn business, and if they made a bed in 3 feet of water, or 5 feet of water, or 4 feet, or even 2 feet of water, lake is rising 6 feet, 8 feet a night, 2, 3 feet a night, and it takes them a week to do, or 4 or 5 days, or a week to do their spawning process, where they actually pair up. The female selects the bed, the male that she wants. They pair up. They do their thing as far as clean off the nest, and then when she's ready, lay the eggs, do their business, watch the fry hatch. That all takes a little bit of time. And if your lake is rising 2, 3 feet at night while this is happening, you're going to have those same beds that got started, and when they choose them, they locked onto them. That process, if they were in the earlier stage but enough locked on, they're not going to move. They'll do their business deep. So I think that's what's happened this year. It happens a lot, because you get snow melt, rain fluctuations, so the lakes come up. So it's going to be, I think, a deeper spawn. Oh heck yeah! I'll get them. Caught one on the jig sucking lips this week. See, I sent RC Creative. I sent all the members like that won, not all of them, but like everybody who won. Got a big list up there. I sent them all some lures. So I sent everybody like some Ned rigs and jigs and all that different stuff. So I tried to make sure I hooked everybody up. And like I said, support local. I smashed that like button if you guys. Thanks for watching and hanging out with me. I would money doing my HVAC job. But like I said, tonight, so let's get down to business. I started rambling about fishing tips, man. That's what happens when I hang out with Casper before the show. So, anyways, what I was wanting to do is also make sure I let everybody know next week we're doing our members giveaway for April. And so we're going to have a nice little fun giveaway for you guys. And we're really close to hitting our subscriber goal giveaway. When we do that, that's going to be open to everybody to do something really cool for you guys. So big shout out and thank you guys. So the members, they can also jump in and apply for the subscribers giveaway as well as the members giveaway. So one of the benefits, but appreciate you guys, everybody who supported the channel. Every month we do a members giveaway. So next week, I'm not sure what day, it depends on work, based on the weather being kind of mild and moot. I'm assuming I won't have a hard time getting in here and doing the shows. So we'll probably do it Monday or Wednesday, and we'll do the giveaway. And also, what was I gonna say? My live well issue, I'm going to try to tape it and fix it, and I'm going to go do a couple of trips this week while I have some time with the weather calm like it is, and cool. So a couple of buddies are going up to Pardee, so I don't know where I'm going to be, whether it's going to be back at the Delta. I might be up at one of the Motherlode lakes here, but I also got a Clear Lake trip planned soon, so looking forward to trying to get up there before it gets too late. They may be experiencing similar issues if they got a bunch of rain and the lake went up a bit. But that's more of a shallow lake. It could lose, like the lake doesn't have mad drop offs, and so it doesn't like have, or there's not a lot of them. So it doesn't have a lot of, when it drains out, like that. So it doesn't drop too much, like in foot wise, or raise too much in feet wise. Not like these Motherlode lakes, anyways. So it'd be interesting. I'm hoping to go out there and slay them. it just depends on timing. I'm really trying to take a couple friends with me, so we'll see how it goes. Um, if not, I might just roll solo or with just maybe one other person and get a motel or something up there. But I'm looking at going probably for a couple of days, so that'll be here soon. We got 3 videos coming out with some tips and tricks about like light colors, dark colors, greens and browns, when to use what during spawn, what I'm using. Short little video with some fish being caught in it, so some fun action. Then we also have my trip to New Maloney's with my son, where we caught some monster spotted bass. That's coming out. And also the Ed Lacey Memorial Tournament. You see us catch like 3 or 4 fish. We have a good time. We try, we joke, we have fun. Get to watch the national anthem, the blast off, some beautiful scenery. But then that's pretty much it because my one-way check valve busted. I didn't get to weigh in, so it was kind of embarrassing. I was a little pissed off at myself that I didn't like try to figure that out beforehand because I noticed something was up with it. But when I tried to pull out the lake and I heard the fish flop, I was like, "Oh shit!" So, what's up, Pops World? Nice to see you on tonight. But yeah, just talking spawn fishing, a whole bunch of stuff. And you guys know you guys can always go back, rewatch this at a later time, catch all of it if you're missing any of it. But appreciate everybody jumps on, whether you're here for 5 minutes or here for the whole show. Um, so what I did the first hour was, I kind of bouncing all over the place about spawn fishing and where they're going post spawn, pre spawn, during spawn, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I give some of my best tips out, and I don't know, maybe I think what I should do is focus on 1 or 2 tips per video, title it what I'm going to talk about, and go really in depth on it, and then talk about other stuff. So multiple subjects and stuff, because sometimes I give out some, to me, would have been really important, game changing advice. And I don't think I know it all, or I don't think I'm really the greatest fisherman, but there are times when I've struggled and someone helped me. And I was like, oh, and then in the future, I've used that and I've just done really good, right? And sometimes I'll give that advice out, but I'm like kind of rambling, talking about all this different stuff when I think it's important to explain why and get into depth on circumstances, maybe fish or episodes or like things that have happened where this made a difference over that. And I'm 100% sure, like I've repeated it, like it's done it multiple times. So I know it's not just a fluke or something. And for example, something like that would be spinner blades, skirts, sizes, sink rate, head type, weight, all of that, the blade type, blade size, how many blades, all that stuff matters. And spinner baits are one of my favorite baits to fish. And, I could honestly do a full video on just spinner baits that literally, if you even try half of what I'm saying, then you're not the greatest spinnerbait fisherman. I guarantee you it'll help you out. I'm not saying I'm the spinnerbait pro, but dang it, it's been one of my favorite lures for like 20 something years. And I got really good with it. I pretty decent, let's just say that, not to toot my own. All right. And so, things like when to use what color spinnerbait and what color water, and when to use what color blades and what type of water, when to use what type of blades and what type of water and what type of bait you're mimicking, right? And then the heavier the spinner bait, the deeper you can get it. So depending on what type of spinner bait fishing you're trying to do will determine your head and weight selection. There's spinner baits that are heads are faced like a bullet weight, and they go through weeds a lot better. They actually have like a weird shape on the front that is meant to pull through stuff. And I'm not talking about where you tie the line. I'm talking on the shape of the actual where the hook's at. And so they're round heads. They're different types of spinnerbait heads. Not like a football, but there are ones that are more oval, let's say, and then ones that are more like triangular, more air water dynamic, and they go through the weeds a little better. Um, Basically, it's just so much like information, like wire size, what kind of spinnerbait you're using, what kind of fish you expect to catch, why you would want to use a certain type over another, because you can snap your blades. I mean, not your blades, but you can snap your wire, snap your hook. If you're catching monsters, if you're fishing certain stuff, you might want to go with some better spinnerbait stuff. If you're fishing ponds and lakes, you could chuck a cheap old Walmart Strike King or Booyah blade. You don't need to spend a bunch of money on some high quality gear and catch monster fish, and you can even catch double digits with them. It's just if you're consistently catching monsters, you probably want to step your gear up. But like all that stuff, I get excited about a spinnerbait because if you're using a Colorado blade, you're intending to mimic either a big bait fish like a trout or a bluegill. It's mostly supposed to mimic a bluegill, but you're mimicking a panfish. You're mimicking something that moves a lot of water, and it's one singular blade, and it's a decent fat sized blade. It makes the perfect nice fat bluegill, and it's gold. The bluegill's got a really nice goldish like color, beautiful like gold, green, little purple to it, right? Got beautiful colored sides, and because they're skinny, they really catch the light. So it's not this big round fat fish. It's this skinny like little discs a shaped fish, so it reflects light off of it really well. Um, so if you're using a Colorado blade, you're trying to mimic a bluegill or something like that, a crappie, or either a small, large bait fish, like a big shad or a small trout or something. If you're using willow blades, you're trying to imitate shad. You're trying to imitate smaller bait fish, thinner bait fish. Um, you're trying to imitate mostly shad, minnows, stuff of that nature, baby bass. Um, and usually willow blades are going to be used in clear water, while a Colorado blade will be used in dirtier water, stained water. Not always. You can use Colorado in clear water, but that's usually when you're going to be fishing along docks, along big old rocky bluffs, and you're trying to catch that one monster fish. You don't care about like catching every fish. You're trying to pull that beast out. Walk around with a Colorado blade, cover water at Lake McClure, and you'll pull out one of the biggest fish in the area with something. A simple technique, simple tactic. And my favorite is a double bladed Colorado, where one blade's the big blade, then you have a smaller medium blade above it. And if you really want to get deep into the game too, you can even change your blades out for bigger blades, trying to mimic even bigger baits. You can bend and adjust the hook for what you're trying to do with your stuff. You can put it closer, you can put it farther apart. Trailers on your spinner baits. Again, why and when to use like a white or a white and blue versus when to use like a white and chartreuse or a full on chartreuse or chartreuse and red, chartreuse and orange, or when to throw a brown or a black or a blue spinner bait. Midnight specials are great, basic, cheap spinner baits that are awesome. They have rattles in them, big old giant Colorado blades. And the rattle is like the secret little technique. They got a rattle in them. No other spinnerbait's got a rattle in it. Any cheap ass spinnerbait you can get at Walmart. And also, tell me, when do you usually see dark colored spinnerbaits? They're always white and green and stuff like that, white and blue. So a red and black spinnerbait or a black and blue spinnerbait's awesome. Now, even rarer is if you can find a really nice brownish or greenish spinnerbait or brown and green that's more realistic tone colors too. I'd pair that with a gold blade. So, and then in clear water, I'm using white and blue, solid white, white and green most of the time. While in dirtier water, I'm using full on chartreuse with white if the water's kind of full on chartreuse if the water's real dirty and stained. I'm using black and red or black and blue. So there's a lot to it, but I promise you, like if you throw the right spinnerbait at the right time, you'll catch monsters with it as if you were throwing a swim bait. You just have to trust it, right? And a spinnerbait's an easy giant open hook lure They're cheap. So it's like an intro to swim bait fishing. So if you don't have the money, the willpower to chuck a $200, $300 swim bait, like I don't really, then go buy a $5, you know, a $5 spinner bait and chuck that. And if you lose it, it's no big deal. You can carry 5 or 6 of them. And I guarantee you, when you get bit, you'll catch little fish on the spinner bait, but you can catch monsters on the spinner bait. And there's so many cool, fun things you can do to it. You can throw the spinner bait out like a jig and almost use it like a chatter bait, where your blades are fluttering like an L100, and your spinner bait poofs out, and then it goes tight when you pull it. It goes tight, and then you let it die, and it poofs out and falls. And you can work it like a jig. You can lift it up and let it die and fall. Reel in the slack, lift it up, let it die and fall. Only problem is occasionally the line will get tangled into the spinner bait, but you can get big fish doing that tactic. You can slow roll them real slow down deep. Cool thing about a spinner bait too is you can run different water columns. So say you're not sure if they're in 1 to 3 feet of water, 3 to 5 feet of water, 6 to 8 feet of water, 10 to 12, let's say 12 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, right? You can take that spinner bait and throw it right in 1 foot. You can adjust your reeling rate, and also by selecting different types of weights, and whether or not you're throwing a trailer on it, what kind of blades you're even working. So if you work a willow, it'll go deeper. However, the blades don't move very well. So I just use a Colorado and let it take its time getting down there, and then just slow roll it. And you can even stop and let it, because as you reel a spinner bait, it is always, if you're fishing it deep or even medium, as long as it's not in that upper column, it will always slowly ride up towards you. So as it's doing that, you can stop a little bit and then kind of let it fall back down. So it almost has like a heartbeat like this, and you can maintain it in whatever water column you want. You can fish a spinnerbait in 50 feet of water, in 30. Now it takes a lot of patience to do it, but I've done it, and I've caught fish out of deep like that. I swear I put that on everything, and I've caught. Most of my fish on the spinnerbait come either between 1 and like 15 feet of water, and the ones that come out deep are usually suspended next to docks, next to other stuff. Sometimes you'll be sitting there on shore bombing it out there, and you actually get one to hammer you out over 50, 60 feet of water just cruising around. The summertime fish are everywhere. That's a great thing about a spinnerbait too. You can get from shore if you don't have a boat, or if you have a boat, you can get parallel. You can cast out. You can fish it where you let it and then run it up towards you, let it sink just a little bit and run it towards you, cast it out, don't let it sink at all, run it like a wake bait. Try that. All this, you can make a million different casts of being stuck in one area and fish that thing in so many different ways. And if you snag it, so what? Snap it off, put another one on. It's $5. So anyways, yeah, don't get me started, man. Spinner bait's one of my favorites. So anyways, I'm saying that, like, I would like to probably did a little more in depth when I do a tip on, like, why I do what I do, and where I've learned it from, who taught it or shared it with me. Give credit where it's due too, right? So gotta film early. Good night, y'all. Nice seeing you. See Creative. What's up? No Limit Off Road. Thanks for jumping on tonight. Howdy, fellas. Charles Chalk, good to see you on. So Robert Avila, nice to see you on as well. Party bound tomorrow morning. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I was gonna go join you guys, but I got an HVAC call. I gotta go run 8 to 10. So someone's unit's broke. It's gonna be cold tomorrow, but they tried to run it today. They know it's not working, so I gotta go to do a call at 8 to 10. So after 10, I might. But I'm one of those guys. I hate fishing a half day. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm fishing, I'm up at 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm fishing from 5 or 6 till 5 or 6. I hate this bullshit. Go out for like 2 or 3 hours or 4 or 5. I just can't do it. That ain't me. I get mad just even thinking about it. My lost fishing time. So I just won't go. I'll go the next day. Because then you could look at it, well, better to get 4 hours than none hours. No, because it's this because I got to take a boat and gas and all that crap, right? So better to just not go for 4 hours today and then go tomorrow or the next day and go for 12 hours. I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? So I wish, man, I appreciate the invite from you and Mark. Hope you guys smack them. There's that Pardee is known for having some really big smallmouth. So good luck, you guys. I hope you smash them. You know, go have fun. I know you and Mark will get on them. Go check the shoreline. However, try to remember smallmouth can spawn deep too, 7, 8, 10 feet. That's where they'll actually like to spawn sometimes. Underneath docks and stuff, they'll spawn their structure. Um, and they'll even be 15, 20 feet. I remember me and my buddy Jeremy, we smashed them at Lake Folsom on beds in like 18 to 20 feet of water. Crystal clear. You could see all the way down. It came up really bad, like for a few days. And then it settled down. There were no boats, no wind, the water clarity, just like all the dust and dirt settled. And then it was just crystal clear water. And you could see down into like 20 feet of water, and you can see little bass. They look like little bass on these little white circles. And then you bring them up, and they were 3 or 4 pounders. I was like, hell yeah. So I think I caught almost like a 4.5 pound spot during that tournament. And then Jeremy I put a bunch in the live well, but I think he culled out all but 2. I think I had 2 and he had 3. Anyways, good times. So smallmouth will spawn deep and can spawn deep, just like spotted bass. Largies usually tend to always want to be shallower. But like I said, they can't help it if the lake level rises. Another tip is almost always for largemouth, you're going to find them spawning next to any kind of structure. So if there's a nice spawning flat and then a boulder on one side or the other or around that boulder, there's going to be a couple beds. The biggest fish will be in the nicest, most protected or best areas that has the nicest structure, safety, laydowns, logs, big stumps that they can sit behind and spawn and feel safe and protected, and that they can also ambush bait if they really had to or need to. They can protect it, defend it well. Hey, hell if I know. Nice to see you on. Been a minute. Thanks for jumping on tonight. Sorry I was late, everybody. I was running HVAC calls, but it's good to see everybody on. So, I went on a little spinnerbait rant on a bunch of different things and when and how and why to throw a spinnerbait. Earlier, I gave some tips and tricks. Usually about the last 20, 30 minutes, so maybe 15 minutes, I leave the floor open. So if you guys want to chat about anything, there's any topics you guys want to discuss, any advice you want to give, or just like anything you want to ask, I'm open, all ears. So I appreciate everybody joining tonight. Don't forget to smash that like button. And I'm pretty sure I don't have to ask to subscribe. Most of you guys I've known for quite a long time. So thank you very much. But if you're new, you're watching this at a later time, please consider subscribing. And if you're one of the longtime viewers, maybe also share this to your Facebook page or to Twitter or something. That way, hopefully, we can grow this channel a little bit, slowly by surely. But we're almost at our goal, and our next goal should be met here within a month or two. And I want to have a big old giveaway to celebrate hitting our subscriber goal. And from there, we'll just see where we go, right? I got almost 250,000 views on the channel now. So I've been on for a while. I made 400 videos. I'm at over 400 videos. I've been on for just about 2 years now. 250,000 views. So nothing too crazy. There's guys that have way more than that on one video. So haven't found the algorithm wave yet. We have rescued a guy on a boat. We've rescued a possum or a raccoon. We've caught double digits, fallen in the water, had drunken adventures, have sinking boats that we've saved, guys stuck on islands. We've had guys lose their poles overboard. 9-pounders, 8-pounders caught on the video on the channel. We've had a lot of shit. I'm surprised we haven't. I think what's really probably kept us from growing is when we did the live streams early. back when I was more wild and rowdy. That's probably when some of you guys might have enjoyed it a little more because I'm usually cracking more jokes. I might have got a little political. I talk about emotional things or talk about news and some shit sometimes. Try to keep it like predominantly fishing, but I'd get a little. Yeah, that's also when I noticed that everything kind of slowed down a bit. So the algorithm probably noticed me and they're like, hey, we're going to make it hard for this guy to grow. Either that or I just suck. I don't know. I haven't been winning any tournaments lately, so I can't say I'm the greatest fisherman lately. That's for damn sure. We're working on it, though. We're working on it, folks. We're going to get there. I'm going to win a couple of these things soon here, really quick. I can't wait till we get into some summertime night tournaments. That's where I'm going to really go crack some heads, hopefully. I'm going to give it my all. I'm like, I don't care if you got live scope or whatever. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to try. But still, it's all educated guess. But at nighttime, though, they're all up shallow. But that damn Panoptic, man, I fished with the guy with it up at night one time, like last year. I was in his boat. And I don't know if I recorded the screen. I think I did. And you could see the bass coming out from shallow to chase your lure. So you would know, like, if you were bottom balancing, how active they were. So basically, you could see these fish move up into the shallows. Then you'd be casting at them, and they might look or turn, may not do nothing, or you might go real slow, and then all of a sudden you'll see them come at your bait. Or you might have them just ignoring you completely. Then you toss up there and you're throwing a crankbait or something. And it's crazy because the fish's attitude can tell you a lot about what you can probably do. So if these fish are chasing your bait and you didn't know it, like you're bottom bouncing, or you reel in all of a sudden and you shoot up off the bottom and a couple fish just come streaking at your lure, but you get it and you never see them. You never see the followers. Could have been broad daylight where they turned around too soon. But with live scope, you could see that. And you could start changing. Oh, I'm going to try jerk bait, or I'm going to try this or that. And you can watch their behavior. It's pretty cool. So anyways, we were up shallow and you could see these fish. So it's kind of like cheating, but I don't care. I know these lakes pretty well. I'm deadly with the crankbait and the jig at night. Top water can also be really good. So I'm going to go give it my all. Maybe it's a little conceited to say I'm going to win, but I'm hoping. How about that? I have the can win. Just gotta execute and put it all together. So I'm excited to hopefully do some more tournament fishing as soon as we get this boat shit fixed. So I'm gonna go out and jerry rig the boat and see how it works, and we'll know where I stand, and then if I have to spend money or not. Hopefully I can just ride. But if not, then when I'm ready, probably during the summer, I'll be able to invest the money to get everything fixed up. It's been one headache after another, but we're slowly getting everything in the boat that's been wrong the last year or two, getting it all cherried out. So I thought I was ready to roll and did two or three tournaments, and then this one, check valve. So we're getting there, though. Just like the channel, we're growing slowly but surely. And I appreciate everybody's support. So don't forget, members giveaway next week. I'm thinking about doing it Monday or Tuesday. And I got a couple fishing trips planned. So we'll be bringing you guys some updated fishing reports, kind of like how's the fishing going? What have I been experiencing? And then any of my buddies, when they talk to me or tell me like how their fishing's going, of course, I'm not going to spill the beans like if they tell me there's a secret lure or spot, but I'll let you guys know relatively, has the fishing been active, lethargic, slow, are they shallow, are they kind of deep? And when I say that in spawn, I mean, are they in 1 to 5 where you can go bed hunting, or are they in that next lane between 6 and 12? Because they can definitely be there and you need to fish slow and take your time if that's the case. If they're up shallow, you can go bed hunting. From all reports I've heard, there's been a ton of little fish been coming out of the mother loads. Hard to find bigger and better, which tells me that the probably bigger and better beds from earlier and even current are mostly out of eyesight. And I did see a few monsters in the 5 or 6 foot range
just sitting down there. I didn't know if they were on a bed or not, but I could see the shape. And then when I got close enough, I'd watch it swim off, and I knew it was a bass. You could see. I was like, damn. So that would all make sense with what I've been hearing. Um, where to go from here? I think it's time to probably start fishing out a little bit more, but keep your eyes peeled shallow. There's still mamas, big mamas, and spawners that will move up until a certain point. Then when it's done, it's done. And get it while the getting's good, so they say. So one thing I like to do is fish up shallow, having my eyes on the shore, and cast out, and not into 40, 50, but out into about 20, and then bring that lure all the way back into like 5 or 6 underneath the nose of the boat. And then the whole time I'm just blind fishing by feel, and then I'll feel it do do, and I'll be like, "Bow!" Set the hook and get them right, fishing outwards while I'm looking for shallow. And then if you see those monsters, remember too, don't waste your time fishing 2 or 3 hours for a 2 pounder on a bed just because it's on a bed. Leave it alone if it's a dink. Move on to the next one, you know, because you don't have to catch them all. If you want to improve your chances of catching a monster, you have a monster. So don't waste your time fishing for 2 pounders and 1 pounders and 1.5 pounders and 2.5. You see a 3 or 4, yeah, go for it. 5 or 6, a 7 or 8, you better stay there. 10, a double digit plus, you better not go nowhere all day. You stay there till you catch that fish, right? If you're sure it's a bass, it's right there. You know what I mean? Got to finish up dinner and then finish up some baits for the students I'm sponsoring for the Junior Bass Nation. Good job, Fong. I always appreciate you. Appreciate everybody else, though. Thank you guys very much for watching. Fong, we'll see you later. Catch you on the next one. Everybody, if you get a chance, smash that like button if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I'm going to try to put together some more cohesive tips, and then I think what I'm going to do is probably do like 2 tips a night, and then break them down as in depth as I can and explain and do some stuff. And then we'll have story time. We'll maybe even talk some jokes. You know, like I seen one earlier. It was hilarious. It said, "Your mom is so slow. She took 9 months to make a joke." Get it? Right? Stupid shit. So we'll have some fun. Story time happens every once in a while, where we go off the rails and usually jump down a rabbit hole or two. So uh, bide with me if those moments happen. For those of you who enjoy them, thanks for coming down the rabbit hole with me. For those of you who don't, hopefully it doesn't earn an unsubscribe. Maybe you just say, well, this is what I'm not watching tonight. But we have fun here. We try to keep it fishing orientated, but it is entertainment, right? So I'm trying to educate and entertain and grow the channel and make this something, maybe a little business one day. But in the meantime, I'm doing it for fun, right? So I don't need to be a super stick in the mud. I don't think I'm a pro. So in the meantime, let's all have a laugh on me, have a laugh on everybody else when we can. Let's just have fun, right? I try to do good things, help the community, take care of kids for Christmas. So there's a lot of good, fun, wholeheartedness on this channel, as well as just some wacky doodle shit too, for sure. So for you, those of you guys who stuck with me, I appreciate it. If you're new, if you're catching this at a later time, you know, I appreciate you guys very much for watching. Like, share, and thanks again. But I tell you what, I'm gonna jump off early because I haven't ate dinner either. We got dinner. My wife's, I think, already. It's probably cold as hell. I gotta go reheat it. But I gotta get up early. I got work Saturday, so I'll be posting some fishing videos soon. Giveaway next week. So make sure you guys have your notification bell checked. Check in when you see them. Monday or Wednesday is going to be the day, depending on how work and life and all that goes. But sometime early next week, not Friday. I want to do it on a Monday or Wednesday. We're going to have our live stream giveaway for members only. So appreciate everybody. And you never know, I might have a special little treat just for the subscribers. So show up. Make sure you come check it out. Show your support. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, I've got a bunch of videos coming out soon, so stay tuned for those. And there's a really action-packed, fun New Maloney's trip. So I hope you guys like that. I'll put a lot of effort into that. Me and my son had a blast. So I hope you enjoy it as much as we did. And thank you guys so much for your company tonight. And take it easy. Tight lines.